My childhood sweetheart lost his sight in a car accident. Out of pity, I donated one of my corneas. However, he believed that I had caused the car accident, and that I donated the cornea to blackmail him with my kindness and seek repayment, all just to break up him and his first love. He hated me for his entire life. Before he died, he said that he would rather be blind than see me again. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the moment when he was about to speed his car to chase after his first love. I pretended not to know anything. In this life, I don't want to see him either. 1. In the dead of night, my mother pulled me out of bed. As she put on her clothes, she said with a serious expression, "Hurry up." Aunt Sue called and said that Yachuan had a car accident. "Let's go to the hospital right away and check on him." My heart was pounding like a drum. It wasn't until I arrived at the hospital and saw Yi Yachuan's parents anxiously pacing back and forth in front of the operating room that I realized this wasn't a fleeting review before my suicide. I had really been reborn. My mother was busy asking about Yi Yachuan's condition, and several adults were as flustered as children. Instead, I became the only one who could communicate calmly with the doctor. The family members should be mentally prepared. The patient's face suffered a violent impact, and both corneas have fallen off. "I'm afraid he will lose his sight," the doctor said. Just like in my previous life, Aunt Sue almost fainted upon hearing this. I sighed silently, and there was really no emotional ripple in my heart. I just said, "The corneas have fallen off, but the eyeballs can still be saved, right?" After saying that he would do his best, the doctor stuffed the pen into my hand. "Who are you?" to the patient. "Hurry up and sign the paper," the word wife almost blurted out, but I held it back forcefully. Then I handed the pen to Uncle Yi, who was relatively calm. "I'm the patient's neighbor and don't have the right to sign." In my previous life, when I learned that Yi Yachuan was about to lose his sight, my reaction was similar to Aunt Sue's. After all, he was the person I had secretly loved for 10 years, thinking that Yi Yachuan, such a free-spirited person, would no longer be able to see the world. I felt a pang of pity and donated one of my corneas. Yi Yachuan was able to see the light again. After being depressed for a few days, he proposed to me in the hospital. At that time, he supported me and said, "Qing Yan, from now on, we will be each other's light." My 10-year secret love came to fruition at this moment, but I was a bit hesitant. "What about Jiyu?" I asked. Yi Yachuan sneered and pointed at his eyes. "If it weren't for her willfulness in breaking up with me in the middle of the night, how could I be like this?" He answered firmly at that time, but less than 2 years after marriage, he changed his attitude. By chance, I saw that he asked an AI software more than once, "How can I make someone's cornea fall off? Help me design a perfect car accident. Can a person who died of carbon monoxide poisoning still donate their corneas?" When I saw these questions, I felt as if I had fallen into hell. I gave him one of my corneas out of consideration for our many years of relationship, but he still wanted to take my other one, so I closed the doors and windows and burned charcoal at home. It was the first time I drank alcohol with Yi Yachuan after marriage. When we were both drunk, I asked him, "Do you regret marrying me?" He revealed his true feelings after drinking, and his eyes looking at me were as sharp as knives. "If I didn't marry you, how could I be worthy of the car accident you carefully designed?" He somehow found my diary and threw it hard on the table. "Zhou Qingyan, you've had a crush on me since you were a child and couldn't have me, so you deliberately designed this car accident to make me blind, didn't you? When I went blind, you took the opportunity to donate your cornea to blackmail me with your kindness and seek repayment. Just to marry me as a matter of course. You've ruined my health, my relationship with Jiyu, and you want me to feel guilty towards you for the rest of my life. You're really vicious. I'd rather be blind for the rest of my life than look at your face." Every word he said was enough to shock me. With red eyes, I tried to explain that it wasn't true, but he banged on the table and questioned, "Then why else would you be willing to become a disabled person yourself and still donate your cornea to me? Aren't you brainwashed by that nonsense about childhood sweethearts? We're just neighbors. There's no such complicated relationship between us." I was stunned. It turned out that Yi Yachuan had always speculated about me with such malice. The carbon dioxide was getting thinner and thinner, and my mind was gradually becoming unclear. Both he and I died in that room, and the death wasn't too painful, too, this time. I watched coldly as the two families tried their best to find a cornea. And I didn't plan to get involved in any of Yi Yachuan's affairs anymore. Aunt Sue kept wiping away her tears, and my mother also had a worried look on her face. "Sigh, why on earth did Yachuan go out and drive fast in the middle of the night? What on earth was so important that he risked his life for it?" such a young and promising person just, upon hearing this, a trace of hatred flashed across Aunt Sue's face. I looked at Yachuan's phone and found out that he had secretly made a girlfriend behind our backs. Her name is Jiyu. That girl was throwing a tantrum and said that if Yachuan didn't reach the high-speed railway station within 10 minutes, she would leave this city, in a hurry. Yachuan, I lowered my eyes and didn't say anything. No matter how I heard it, this matter had nothing to do with me, but in his previous life, Yachuan managed to pin the blame on me. As soon as she finished speaking, there was a crackling sound coming from the ward. Aunt Sue and my mother didn't have time to react and quickly ran in. I followed in and took a look. Yachuan had knocked over the water cup on the table and fell off the hospital bed himself. He had torn off the gauze on his eyes and was now reaching out with red eyes, groping around randomly. Yachuan, Aunt Sue said with a crying tone out of, get up quickly. The floor is cold, you child. You move around as soon as you wake up, your leg is cracked, so be careful not to touch it. Yachuan tightly grasped Aunt Sue's hand as if he had grabbed a life-saving straw. Mom, what's wrong with my eyes? Why can't I see anything? Why? Aunt Sue loved her son so much that she opened her mouth several times but couldn't say anything. She covered her mouth and cried, and her shoulders trembled as she held back the sobs, not daring to make a sound. Yachuan couldn't see where people were and could only look around, his eyes revealing a look of panic. In the end, my mother couldn't stand it anymore. She pulled me and helped Yachuan up together. Qingyan, it's you, Qingyan, right, tell me what's wrong with me quickly. I looked at Aunt Sue with a complicated expression. Only after getting her permission did I say, you had a car accident, which led to the corneas falling off, and you've lost your sight. Yachuan was stunned for a moment and blurted out that it was impossible. I didn't say anything more, and Aunt Sue immediately came up to comfort him. Don't be afraid. Your father and Uncle Zhou have already gone to find a cornea for you. We'll be able to regain our eyesight soon. Yachuan, who had been free-spirited and assertive since childhood, couldn't bear this blow. Finally, the doctor came for a round of inspection and reminded, you must take extra care of your eyes now. Otherwise, if the situation deteriorates further, even if there is a cornea available, it can't be transplanted. I smiled but didn't say anything. If a cornea could be easily obtained, in his previous life, Yachuan wouldn't have set his sights on my other cornea, but wasn't this exactly what he wanted? In this life, at least he could never see me again. 3. Uncle Ye's attempts to find a cornea failed repeatedly, and his hair turned white within a few days. Yachuan couldn't accept the fact that he had lost his sight, and a fear emanated from his whole body, less than 3 days after being hospitalized. Aunt Sue was so exhausted that she was hospitalized due to high blood pressure. I deliberately avoided Yachuan, but I was scolded by my parents. Qingyan, our two families have always had a good relationship, you should at least lend a hand. I couldn't eat any longer, so I had to go. As soon as I entered the ward, Yachuan heard the commotion and turned his head. It's Qingyan, isn't it? I was surprised for a moment. And then I heard Yachuan laugh self-deprecatingly. I know your footsteps. Why haven't you come to the hospital to see me? Does my current appearance scare you? I sat not far from his hospital bed and said indifferently, I'd been too busy recently and didn't have time. My 10-year-long secret love had long since disappeared completely due to the hardships after marriage in my previous life. In this life, my infatuation has cleared up. Yachuan was right. We were just neighbors. It was as if he was waiting for my comfort. When I didn't speak for a long time, he reached out his hand to grope for his phone again. After finally finding it, he stretched his hand towards the other side of the bed. He said to the air, help me check if Jiyu has called me. I can't even turn on my phone, since I haven't been able to contact her for so many days. Jiyu must be really worried. I sighed helplessly. I'm over here. Yachuan was stunned for a moment, and a trace of frustration flashed across his face. I took the phone and fiddled with it. There were 0 missed calls. I opened WeChat and took a look. The chat record between the two of them was still from a few days ago. I glanced at Yachuan, driven by curiosity. I still opened the chat box. I really wanted to know why in his previous life, Yachuan had blamed me for his car accident. Yachuan, my mom said that if you want to marry me, the betrothal gift must be a shopping mall. There's no room for negotiation on this matter. Your family is wealthy, even 2 shopping malls are nothing to you. Since you're so insincere, we might as well break up. Yachuan took a very low stance. Can we discuss this matter again? I'll talk to my parents properly. Jiyu sent a high-speed rail ticket for half an hour later, then come to me again when you've discussed it. Yi Yachuan begged Ji Yu not to leave, and finally Ji Yu relented, but said that she would only give him 10 minutes, after reading the chat record. I couldn't help but sneer. Their quarrel over the betrothal gift had nothing to do with me. In his previous life, just because I was kind-hearted and donated a cornea to him, he took all his anger out on me. So, any news? Yi Yachuan asked anxiously. I shook my head and put the phone on his lap. No, it's impossible. He groped for the phone and still wanted to hand it to me. Is my phone out of battery? Or maybe the phone was broken in the car accident and WeChat can't receive messages. Qing Yan, can you go and buy me a new phone? Looking at Yi Yachuan's anxious appearance, a trace of satisfaction rose in my heart. I deliberately said, as if taking revenge, Ji Yu hasn't contacted you, not even once. From then on, Yi Yachuan asked me to check the unread messages on his phone every day. As the days passed, Yi Yachuan was clearly getting flustered. She hasn't contacted me for so many days. Why still doesn't Ji Yu contact me? Do you think something might have happened to her? I looked at him expressionlessly, but Yi Yachuan suddenly said, help me call Ji Yu. The moment the phone was connected, Yi Yachuan's eyes lit up, and this was the first time he had smiled in several days. Ji Yu, the person on the other end of the phone wasn't in a good mood. Why are you calling me? I said I would only wait for you for 10 minutes, and you didn't come. Doesn't this mean we've broken up by default? Don't bother me anymore in the future, Yi Yachuan kept explaining. I'm sorry, Ji Yu, don't hang up the phone. I didn't mean to be late, and I don't want to break up either. It's just that, I had a car accident and have been in the hospital. I got up and walked out, afraid that if he was rejected, he would also shift the blame to me. But seeing Yi Yachuan's attitude towards Ji Yu, I finally understood that he really didn't love me. We grew up together since we were children. And I had never seen Yi Yachuan in such a humble state. After Aunt Sue came, I went to see the attending doctor. If the car accident was so serious, why were Yi Yachuan's other injuries only minor? While his eyes were the most severely injured, there was also a hint of helplessness on the doctor's face. When we picked him up from the scene, his entire face was covered in blood. Later, we found that there was a raised ornament installed on the logo of the steering wheel of the patient's car. When the airbag popped out, it happened to poke into his eyes. What a pity. I raised my eyebrows and went home, understanding everything in my heart. In my previous life, I had devoted all my heart to Yi Yachuan. Only after looking back on my life before I died did I realize that I had played a good hand of cards very poorly. This time, I used 2/3 of my savings to buy gold. My mother looked at me suspiciously. Are you going to open a gold store? I smiled and shook my head. I'm keeping it for appreciation. When my father came back in the evening, he was in a bad mood and let out a long sigh during dinner. Out of the corner of his eye, he kept glancing at me from time to time. We can't find a cornea at all. That child Yachuan is probably. I looked up at my father and said, we should do our best and leave the rest to fate. You've already done your best. Even if we can't find a cornea, Uncle Yi won't blame you. My parents both looked at me and probed carefully. Your father is worried that you won't be able to accept it. We know that you and Yachuan have had a good relationship since you were children, and it became even closer when you grew up. If you insist, your mother and I won't object. After understanding the hidden meaning of their words, I put down my chopsticks seriously. Dad, Mom, I don't like Yi Yachuan anymore. It's not because he's blind, it's because he already has a girlfriend. He's not suitable for me. We're just ordinary friends and neighbors. Don't say such things again in the future. My parents were surprised for a moment and then quickly nodded. Yan, don't worry, whatever you choose, we will support you. A week later, my father originally wanted to pick Yi Yachuan up from the hospital, but Aunt Sue helplessly declined. My father, thank you, but Yachuan's friend has come and said that she will take him out of the hospital. You've all gone to a lot of trouble during this time. At noon that day, we saw a girl helping Yi Yachuan get out of the car. Aunt Sue and Uncle Yi followed behind, and their faces showed no sign of joy or anger. I heard that Aunt Sue has always disagreed with this girl coming into the family. Why has she suddenly changed her mind? My mother shook her head and said, Yi Yachuan can't see. Aunt Sue has no choice but to agree. That night, Aunt Sue's family invited us over for dinner. I made an excuse to refuse, but Aunt Sue and Uncle Yi came to our house in person. If Qing Yan is not available today, how about we have dinner another day? Your family has helped us a lot during this time. We don't know how to thank you. You must come to our house for a meal. Leaving Yi Yachuan aside, both in my previous life and this life, Aunt Sue and her husband have always been very kind to me. I couldn't decline and had to agree. When my mother arrived, she went to the kitchen to help Aunt Sue. My father and Uncle Yi got together, scratching their heads and contacting people everywhere to find a cornea. Only I was sitting awkwardly in the living room with Yi Yachuan and Ji Yu. Ji Yu took on the posture of a hostess and even poured me a cup of tea. I heard that you are the little childhood sweetheart who grew up with Yachuan since childhood. I smiled politely. Not really, we're just neighbors. Out of the corner of my eye, Yi Yachuan frowned, but when Ji Yu leaned into his arms, his frown immediately relaxed. Ji Yu smiled shyly. Yachuan has become more dependent on me since he lost his sight. I had no intention of competing with her, so I just smiled in agreement. In this life, I just want to keep my distance from Yi Yachuan. As for whether he, who has lost his sight, is happy or not, it's none of my business. At the dinner table, Aunt Sue and Uncle Yi drowned their sorrows in wine. After 3 rounds of drinking, they were all a bit tipsy. I helped Aunt Sue back to the bedroom. Auntie, you have a good rest. Yi Yachuan's condition is getting better day by day. Don't worry too much. Everyone is still trying their best to find a cornea. Aunt Sue covered her face and burst into tears. We can't even buy a cornea with money. We all know that this is just a hope. I originally disagreed with Ji Yu coming into the family. Qing Yan, you and Yachuan are the ones who. I interrupted Aunt Sue with a smile. Auntie, Yi Yachuan and I are friends. You'd better help them fulfill their love. Aunt Sue was stunned for a moment and then nodded, and her tears flowed even more profusely. I helped my parents back home. Before leaving, I looked back and saw Ji Yu looking up at the Yi family's house, her eyes full of greed. According to Yi Yachuan's personality, he must have looked for Ji Yu after the accident in his previous life, but Ji Yu rejected Yi Yachuan, who could see with one eye in his previous life, but changed her mind about Yi Yachuan, who is completely blind in this life. Ji Yu's intentions are probably not pure. 6. Yi Yachuan and Ji Yu got their marriage certificate soon. Logically speaking, this should be a happy event, but Aunt Sue and Uncle Yi were frowning. Why does Aunt Sue have even more white hair than a few days ago? There was a hint of exasperation on my mother's face. She's still worried about Yi Yachuan. That girl is no good. Taking advantage of Yi Yachuan's blindness, she made exorbitant demands. The betrothal gift alone cost more than half of the Bai family's property, saying it was compensation from the Bai family to her. Yet Yi Yachuan said that he would marry no one but her. Your Uncle Yi was so angry that his heart disease almost flared up again. Marrying Ji Yu was Yi Yachuan's lifelong obsession, not to mention half of the property. Even if all of his wealth was taken away, Yi Yachuan would probably be happy about it. The only ones to be pitted were Aunt Sue and Uncle Yi. In their middle age, they still had to go through this disaster. After dinner in the evening, I went back to my room. In my previous life, I lost the sight of one eye. In this life, I naturally want to take a good look at the great rivers and mountains of the motherland. When I was making a travel plan, my mother suddenly knocked on the door. Qing Yan, Yachuan is looking for you. I frowned. After thinking about it, I had indeed been keeping my distance from him recently, so I got up and went downstairs. What's the matter? Yi Yachuan looked in the direction of my voice. Do you want to go for a walk? I looked back at my parents, put on a coat, and went out, but I didn't go far, just stood under the street lamp at the door. Yi Yachuan groped with his hands and didn't take a step. When he saw that I didn't come forward for a long time, he pursed his lips. Aren't you going to give me a hand? I clicked my tongue softly. A man and a woman should avoid physical contact. I need to keep my distance from a married person. Yi Yachuan tentatively walked over step by step. A small stone tripped him and he stumbled. I watched expressionlessly. After all, in his previous life, he banged on the table and said that he would rather be blind than see my face. The scene was still vivid in my mind. 7. Yi Yachuan stumbled over a distance that should have taken 1 minute and 10 minutes. I had lost my patience, but he took out a bag of wedding candies from his pocket. As usual, I took them out secretly for you. When I was a child, I was greedy, no matter what food there was at home. Yi Yachuan would always secretly take out a portion for me first. Is this why you came to see me? I tilted my head and looked at him, thinking carefully. My initial crush on him seemed to be because of his boundless kindness. Put it away, you're married and should pay attention to propriety. I casually found an excuse to refuse, but Yi Yachuan's eyes turned slightly red. He was also a bit emotional. I know your feelings for me. If we can't be lovers, can't we even be friends? You used to pester me every day. Now you're saying that I'm just your neighbor. I was stunned for a moment. Later, I remembered that he was referring to the time when we went to their house for dinner. I chuckled, although I didn't understand what he meant by that. I still returned the words he said in his previous life to him verbatim. Aren't you brainwashed by that nonsense about childhood sweethearts? We're just neighbors. There's no such complicated relationship between us. Yi Yachuan's expression froze for a moment, his ears turned red in embarrassment. I touched my slightly cold arm. It's too cold, go back early. Can you walk back? Yi Yachuan lowered his eyes and stared at the ground, making it impossible to guess his emotions. I've walked this way 800 times. I could walk back and forth in my dreams. As soon as he finished speaking, I closed the door with peace of mind. If he fell and got hurt, it would really add to Aunt Sue's troubles. 2 days later, I got on the plane for a trip. I wore earphones and looked out of the window all the way, amid the clouds rolling and stretching. I threw all the grudges behind me. The world is wonderful. Wasting time and energy on a man is definitely not a wise move. 8. I spent half a year traveling to more than a dozen cities. Everywhere I went, I met all kinds of friends and even accidentally became a travel blogger. My parents followed my account, and the two of them competed every day to be the first in my comment section. But soon I noticed a strange private account. It would come to my comment section every day to make sarcastic remarks. A girl should stay at home and take care of her husband and children. What does it look like to show her face outside every day? No manners. Who knows where your money comes from? I asked a friend to track down this account. When I found out that it was Jiyu, I laughed. When chatting with my parents in the evening, I probed subtly. Yi Yachuan and Jiyu have already got their marriage certificate. Why haven't they held a wedding yet? When it came to them, my mother seemed to have opened a chatterbox. Yachuan always wanted to hold a wedding, but Jiyu disagreed. She said that it was embarrassing for her to have a blind husband. Aunt Sue comes to pour out her grievances to me every day, that Jiyu is not as kind as she was before marriage at all. She has embezzled more than half of the Bai family's property. 2 months after marriage, she started to act like a tyrant over Yi Yachuan. Aunt Sue has seen her ask Yachuan to pour her foot washing water more than once. This wouldn't be a big deal originally, but Yachuan can't see the way. Once the old couple heard a banging sound in the middle of the night. When they came out to check, they found that Yachuan had rolled down from the 2nd floor and was covered in foot washing water. Isn't this bullying? I listened intently and couldn't help but think of my previous life. 3 years after donating the cornea, my right eyeball started to atrophy, so every time Yi Yachuan went to a gathering with his friends, he refused to take me out. Once I tentatively suggested going with him, and Yi Yachuan refused without even thinking. Later, when he was annoyed by my pestering, he directly dragged me in front of the mirror. He blurted out, "Look at your own eyes. Isn't the atrophied eyeball scary?" At that moment, surprise, inferiority, and disbelief all flooded into my mind. Wasn't I like this to let him see the light again? But Yi Yachuan didn't even give me a chance to refute and slammed the door and went out. Later, I overheard him talking on the phone with a friend and found out that he thought we were bound together in this life because of various ties. Just like now, Jiyu is certain that without her, Yi Yachuan won't be wanted by anyone else, so she can treat him however she wants. It can be considered that the wheel of fortune has turned. 9. It was 3 months later when I went home again. I brought some local specialties from other places. My mother felt sorry for Aunt Sue and gave half of them to her after lunch, but unexpectedly, 10 minutes later, my mother came back with a look of anger, and Aunt Sue followed behind with red eyes. The originally well-packaged specialties were also damaged. What's going on? My mother was very angry. It's not like we married a daughter-in-law, it's like we married a Tyrannosaurus Rex. That Jiyu threw out all the things you bought. Not only did she make sarcastic remarks about you, but she also said that Aunt Sue was turning her elbow outwards and was muddle-headed. It's only been a short time since they got married. In the future, she'll probably ride on the elders' necks and act arrogantly. Aunt Sue took my hand. She had lost a lot of weight in a few months. If that incident hadn't happened, Bai and I would never have let this woman into the family. Auntie has heard Jiyu talking on the phone with a man in the middle of the night more than once. But I can't say anything, I can only pretend not to know. I poured Aunt Sue a glass of water. I won't get involved in their family affairs, but I still have some old scores to settle with Jiyu, so I went straight next door. When Jiyu opened the door, she let out a disdainful, "Yo, the travel blogger is back. What? Are you here to fight for our family? You like to meddle in other people's business so much. Why don't you take the position of the Bai family's daughter-in-law?" I sneered and directly pulled up her account. "You thought you couldn't be found with a private account. For the past few months, you've been making malicious slander and leading the rhythm under my videos. The number of likes has accumulated up to 30,000. Do you know what the crime of slander is? A trace of uneasiness flashed across Jiyu's face, but it disappeared in an instant. If you say so, then it is. Do you have any evidence? I can even find out your IP. Do you think the police can't? Jiyu curled her lips in disdain. Can't I just delete it? It's too late. I've already preserved the evidence. Even if you delete it now, it won't be of any use. Only then did a trace of imperceptible panic flash across Jiyu's eyes, but she couldn't argue with me and turned around to call Yi Yaochuan out. 10. Yi Yaochuan couldn't see, and Jiyu didn't even bother to hide the look of disgust on her face. Honey, what should I do? Your little childhood sweetheart is bullying me. Yi Yaochuan gently frowned and then started reaching out his hands to grope around. Is Qingyan back? Jiyu's face immediately darkened. Yi Yaochuan, why is your first reaction not to defend me? After getting married, you don't love me anymore, do you? Yi Yaochuan paused. Just as he was about to speak, Jiyu drove him into the room. I watched coldly. Sure enough, men have a masochistic nature. In my previous life, Yi Yaochuan married me, but he never said a word in my defense. Jiyu's face was a bit distorted. See, men don't cherish what they have once they get it. What's the difference between having such a man and not having one? Yi Yaochuan should be grateful that I haven't run away. I looked at her leisurely and asked the doubt in my heart. But why do you come to my place to show off? Yi Yaochuan loves you to the core. Jiyu's hand holding the door frame suddenly tightened, and she unconsciously gritted her teeth when she spoke. She lowered her voice. What's the use of his love? Isn't he still dependent on me for everything from eating and drinking to going to the toilet? Marrying him is like finding a son for myself. Otherwise, why do you think the Bai family is willing to give me so much money? Even you, who were his childhood sweetheart, have left. Who else would want him? I'm just angry. Why should I be like a housekeeper at home while you can live a colorful life outside? If it weren't for my poor background, I wouldn't earn this humiliating money. I felt a bit sighing and also felt that it was within my expectation. Even if you tell all these words to the Bai family, I'm not afraid. After all, their son is blind. I thought for a while and told her what the doctor said. Do you know that he became blind because you put an ornament on his steering wheel? When the airbag popped out, it injured his eyes. Jiyu sneered. So what? He was willing. Sure enough, people of the same kind sleep in the same bed. Naturally, I wouldn't tell these words to anyone, but before leaving, I warned her again. If you don't apologize in my comment section within 24 hours, I will sue you for slander. Just an apology is not enough. If you talk back to my mother again in the future, I still reserve the right to sue you. At that time, I will hire the best lawyer and make you lose everything you have now. Jiyu held the door tightly and was so stupid as to threaten me with Yi Yaochuan. Yi Yaochuan will be useless without me. I curled my lips and smiled. What does that have to do with me? 11. Jiyu still couldn't bear to lose everything she had now and obediently apologized on social media in the evening, when she accidentally met my parents on the road. She also knew to greet them politely. Aunt Sue and Uncle Yi couldn't stand this kind of life, so they simply bought another house near their home and moved out. Being a travel blogger made me a freelancer. I went out to play with my friends every day and didn't come back until evening. My friends said I had changed. You used to be an introvert. Now why are you even more restless at home than I, an extrovert? I smiled but didn't answer, probably because in my previous life, I was so afraid of staying at home after losing one eye. This time, I naturally want to make up for it all. Without Yi Yaochuan, my life seems to be getting more and more colorful. But when I came home this evening, I met Yi Yaochuan on the bench in front of my house. He had lost a lot of weight and was sitting there blankly, like a sculpture under the street lamp. He didn't look up slowly until he heard me say goodbye to my friend. Is Qingyan back? I frowned and walked towards him. What are you doing here? Yi Yaochuan tightly held his cane. It wasn't until I was almost out of patience that he took out a jewelry box from his pocket. He opened it carefully, and then I saw that there was a jade bracelet of excellent quality inside. Qingyan, this is for you. I chuckled. This jade bracelet was the family heirloom of the Yi family. In my previous life, I never received it until the day I died, but in this life, Yi Yaochuan took the initiative to bring it over. This should be given to your wife. I won't accept it. When Jiyu was mentioned, Yi Yaochuan's emotions suddenly became a bit agitated. Don't mention her. If it weren't for her, how could my eyes have become like this? These words sounded really familiar. In my previous life, he seemed to have said the same thing to me. Look, no matter how they choose, men can always shift the blame onto others and always see themselves as the most innocent. Remembering what happened in my previous life, I really didn't have a good attitude towards Yi Yaochuan. What exactly do you want to say? Yi Yachuan looked extremely dejected. After a while, he opened his mouth. Qin Yan, I regret it. Obviously, we were childhood sweethearts, so why did I fall for that Jiyu? I've always known your feelings for me. I know I was wrong. I was about to interrupt him when I saw him raise his head full of anticipation. Qin Yan, are you willing to save me? I really can't stand this world full of darkness anymore. I was shocked and couldn't help but sneer without any concealment. Are you crazy? Who do you think you are? Why should I save you? 12. Yi Yachuan slowly stood up, and 2 lines of tears even flowed from his eyes. I looked at him coldly and became more and more disgusted with him. If he doesn't get it, he has the nerve to ask for it. I must have been out of my mind in my previous life to have a crush on him. I turned around and wanted to leave, but then I suddenly heard him say a bit excitedly, "You will save me. You were originally going to give me a cornea." I paused and turned around in surprise to look at the man under the street lamp. So, Yi Yachuan had also been reborn. He took 2 steps forward and begged humbly, "Please save me one more time. Weren't you willing to give me a cornea? Why are you not willing now?" Qin Yan, as long as you're willing to save me, I'll divorce Jiyu immediately and be with you. Okay, we'll be very happy in the future. I'll love you for the rest of my life, I sneered, and then dislike my atrophied eyeball and think it's embarrassing to take me out. Yi Yachuan was stunned for a moment and didn't react for a while. He mumbled, "What?" I helped him recall word by word. "Do you remember how you asked the AI questions? How can I make someone's cornea fall off? Help me design a perfect car accident. Can a person who died of carbon monoxide poisoning still donate their corneas?" Yi Yachuan, didn't you say that you would rather be blind for the rest of your life than see me, in this life, as you wished? You should be happy. Yi Yachuan froze in place, and the whole person was like being struck by lightning and couldn't say a word. I turned around and went home, leaving him apologizing bitterly behind me without stopping. When I closed the door, I could still hear the sound of Yi Yachuan falling. I didn't look back. In this life, I don't want to see him either. I don't know if it was because those words were returned to him verbatim, but I slept extremely soundly that night. But I never expected that the next day, I was woken up by the sound of police sirens and Aunt Sue's crying. 13. Both Yi Yachuan and Jiyu were dead. When Aunt Sue went to deliver them breakfast, as soon as she opened the door, she smelled a pungent smell of blood. When she took a closer look, she found that Jiyu was lying on the stairs covered in blood, and the carpet on the stairs was dyed red. She had her throat slit. Yi Yachuan was also lying on the bed covered in blood, but he was inexplicably peaceful. When he was discovered, the corners of his mouth were even raised. However, besides the wound on his neck, there were 7 or 8 stabbing marks of different sizes on his upper body. Aunt Sue and Uncle Yi were crying uncontrollably. They fainted several times before barely managing to go to the police station to make a statement. "Officer, my son was obviously murdered." The police took out 2 mobile phones with a solemn expression. "They were picked up on the grass behind your house. After verification, they are exactly Yi Yachuan's and Jiyu's. We found a recording suspected to be a suicide note in Yi Yachuan's mobile phone. Listen to it." Yi Yachuan's hoarse voice slowly sounded, "Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. Forgive me for having to say goodbye to you in this way. I have no face to face you. Jiyu cheated. She brought that man back home the night before yesterday. The 2 of them bullied me because I couldn't see, and actually, in my room." Yi Yachuan's voice trembled a bit. "I really can't stand this kind of life anymore. It's just a pity that I didn't see Jiyu's true face until now. She married me just for money. I treated her so well, but this is how she repays me. If it weren't for her, maybe I wouldn't have gone blind. Even if I went blind, someone would donate a cornea to me. I didn't cherish it, but this bitch deserves to die. I thought about getting a divorce, but I'm not willing to let her take away more than half of the property. I'm afraid your life will be difficult in the future. After killing Jiyu, I will also commit suicide. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, I've disgraced you." "Is Qin Yan here?" "I'm sorry, I hope we can meet again in the next life." After listening to the recording, my parents and Yi Yachuan's parents were all crying their hearts out. The police also looked compassionate. After the forensic autopsy, it was judged that the wounds on Yi Yachuan's body should have been caused by Jiyu's counterattack after she was injured. Jiyu should have climbed to the stairs when she found that her mobile phone was missing and wanted to escape to find someone to save her life, but in the end, she bled to death. I lowered my eyes, feeling mixed emotions in my heart. Aunt Sue and Uncle Yi were the most pitiful people. As for Yi Yachuan, he said he hoped we could meet again in this life, but I hope we will never meet again in this and all future lives. 14. After dealing with Yi Yaochuan's aftermath, Aunt Sue and her husband completely collapsed. Both of them had white hair overnight. My mother couldn't bear to see this and took care of them personally every day. Even with a nurse, she still wasn't at ease. When Aunt Sue's health improved a bit, I also went to see her. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. "Who are you?" to the patient. "Hurry up and sign the paper." I was too lazy to listen to words about him. So after helping Auntie wipe her tears, I changed the subject. "You and Uncle have a good rest and get well soon. Next time I go out, I'll take you with me, okay? In the future, you and Uncle will retire with my parents." This was my mother's suggestion. I once objected to it, but was criticized by my mother. "Have you forgotten how kind Aunt Sue was to you when you were a child? Yaochuan is 2 years older than you. When you were born, you kept crying. At that time, our family's conditions weren't as good as they are now." I was exhausted. "It was Aunt Sue who carried you up bit by bit. They've lost their son. If this continues, I'm afraid their health won't hold up in a short time." As my mother spoke, her eyes turned red. I didn't refute anymore. After getting married in my previous life, Uncle and Auntie were still as kind to me as before. It was all Yi Yaochuan's fault. After Uncle and Auntie recuperated for a year, I took them on a plane to Yunnan. I rented a small courtyard for them, for people were just right. Instead, I carried equipment out every day to shoot materials, while the other 3 played mahjong noisily. Everyone was just right. Story 2. The day I gave birth was critical. I pleaded with Zhang Shuai to sign the consent form for a cesarean section, but his mother wouldn't allow it. From behind the door, he shouted anxiously, "Chow Chow, push harder, you can definitely give birth naturally." Later, I suffered from amniotic fluid embolism, and both the baby and I died. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to being 15 years old. Zhang Shuai stopped me at the entrance of the village. "Chow Chow, I heard you're going to vocational school too." 01. For a brief moment after I passed away, my soul hovered in midair. I heard my mother-in-law sitting on the ground, wailing that the doctors had killed her precious grandson. She had always thought the baby in my belly was a girl. I saw Zhang Shuai holding my body, crying uncontrollably, his tears and snot smeared all over my face. Seeing my mother rushing over and crying her heart out, she later joined my mother-in-law in confronting the doctor, demanding 1,000,000 yuan in compensation. 1,000,000 yuan. "So, my life was worth that much?" A voice echoed in my ears. "You should be reincarnated now." But I really couldn't accept it. Why did my life have to end like this? "Do you want to live again?" Yes. My consciousness plunged into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to being 15. The village loudspeaker announced, "Although SARS has not affected our city yet, but," Zhang Shuai, wearing bell-bottoms, stopped me at the village entrance. "Chow Chow, I heard you're also going to vocational school." His young, naive face startled me. I turned and ran towards home. After a few steps, I turned back and slapped him. "To hell with your mama's boy." He was stunned by the slap. It took him a moment to chase after me and shout, "Song Chow Chow, why did you hit me? What does mama's boy mean?" I ran towards the direction of the setting sun. All the way home, the courtyard was lively. A city-dwelling aunt who had graduated from vocational school early and got a job at a state-owned enterprise had returned. She had married a colleague and was allocated a house, thus becoming a city resident. She was the most successful in our family and had a lot of influence. At that moment, she was giving her opinions. Although Chow Chow got into the top high school, her scores were the lowest. Girls lack explosive power. She'll fall even further behind in high school. The university entrance rate from that school has declined. If she doesn't get into university, all her studies would be in vain. It's better to go to vocational school. She could start working in 2 years and help with her brother's tuition fees, making things easier for you both. At that time, my parents believed her. Seeing her about to continue, I interrupted loudly, "Dad, Mom, I want to go to high school." My aunt kept talking, but I responded directly, "Aunt, don't worry, we won't ask you for money, not that you would lend it anyway." She left in a huff. As night fell, the courtyard darkened. Dad scolded me, "Show some respect. How do you speak to your elders?" I repeated, "Dad, Mom, I want to go to high school." I knew this was a time full of opportunities. But seizing those opportunities also required a stepping stone. A university degree was that stepping stone. Mom turned on the light in the main room. The 5-watt bulb was only slightly brighter than a kerosene lamp. Dad smoked his water pipe vigorously, and Mom sighed deeply. "Chow Chow, high school costs 1,800 per semester, and your dad and I don't have the money. The rice isn't selling well now." and 2 of our pigs have died. Your dad and I aren't capable enough. And your brother also needs money for school. In my past life, it was the same story. Back when I was young and naive, with a tender heart and little worldly experience, I ended up compromising and enrolled in a vocational school. It was there I discovered many of my classmates only scored half of what I had on the middle school exams. Later, when my younger brother was to take the same exams, my parents scraped together money from everywhere, paying a sponsorship fee of 5,000 yuan to send him to a top school. At that moment, my world collapsed. Life seemed to follow a pattern. One wrong step led to another. I insisted, I must attend high school, and I'll find a way to manage the tuition myself. My father, after exhaling his last puff of smoke, said, if you can get the money yourself, then go ahead. School was starting in just over a month. Even if I worked day and night in the county, there was no way I could earn the 1,800 yuan needed. I spent nights tossing and turning in bed, trying to think of a solution. Finally, I thought of someone. At the break of dawn the next day, I left for the first bus to the county. Everyone woke early during the hot summer days. I ran into Aunt Zhang, who had been my mother-in-law in a past life. She greeted me with a big smile, offering, Chaoyang. Heading out so early, haven't had breakfast. Right, I boiled some eggs, take 2. I felt a chill go through me, mixed with anger and fear. Before my marriage to Zhang Shuai, she treated me wonderfully. Only after did I realize her duplicity, especially as years passed and I hadn't had a child. Her demeanor grew harsher. When I finally got pregnant and an ultrasound revealed a daughter, she sold the chickens that had been raised for my postpartum care. I stepped back and said, I've already eaten. You're going to vocational school too? You could go to the same school as my Zhang Shuai. No, I'm aiming for high school. I turned away and walked off, hearing her shout behind me, where are your parents going to find the money for that? What's the use of a girl getting so much education? Better to start working and earning money sooner. At the bus station, under the scorching sun, I went door to door looking for work and came across the food restaurant. The year I got married, there was news in the village about Uncle Da from our clan who had funded a few students, one of whom got into Tsinghua University. That student later sought out Uncle Da to give him 300,000 yuan as gratitude. The television even interviewed him. The village wives gossiped. With that money, why not help someone local instead of outsiders? No wonder he never had a son. It was just past 10, and the small restaurant had few customers. Licking my cracked lips, I grabbed a cloth from Uncle Da's hand to help wipe tables and explained my situation. I'll write you an IOU, and I'll pay back with interest once I get into university. My grades are low now, but I will study hard. Uncle Da, I know you've been helping poor children. Please help me. Before I could finish, his wife burst out shouting, what funding, Song Di Fu, who have you been giving money to behind my back? No wonder the accounts are always off. She brandished a kitchen knife at Uncle Da. He grabbed the cloth back from my hand, saying, I don't have money, it's all lies, don't listen to her. He scolded me, if you're not eating, then go back home, don't disturb my business here. I was wrong, I was too impulsive, too desperate, but Uncle Da didn't give me another chance. Chasing me out with a broom, I asked around at many shops, even those hiring only offered 600 a month, and required at least a half-year commitment. Under the blazing sun, I felt like I was being baked alive. The cement ground sizzled under my transparent plastic sandals. Can restarting life really not alter my fate? Am I doomed to only attend a free vocational school, work on an assembly line, and marry just anyone, settling for an unremarkable life? After a whole day without food or water, I felt as if I had shed a layer of skin. On my way back, I ran into Aunt Zhang at the entrance of the village. She clucked her tongue and said, stop making trouble for yourself. You're not meant for better things. Why don't you join my son Xiaoshui at the vocational school? It would be good for you. Xiaoshui came out of the house with a bowl of herbal tea. Have some tea, don't get heat stroke. In our past lives, we both worked on the assembly line. We earned 800 a month, sending 600 to our parents and keeping only 200 for ourselves. The factory provided room and board. He would give me his 200. Sometimes not even spending 10 yuan in a month. Back then, I thought he was the kindest person in the world to me. He was indeed kind, but unfortunately, he was a mama's boy. I pushed the herbal tea back to him. No thanks. When I got home, my parents and younger brother had just returned from the fields. Song Mu sarcastically remarked, you sure know how to hide. Didn't see you all day. My back is about to break. Ever since I was young, My parents told me I had to look after my brother as the elder sister. I was brainwashed with this mentality, until they used the money I had sent home over the years to make a down payment on a house in the town for my brother, while all I got were 6 of the cheapest silk quilts for my dowry. That's when I realized, from the moment Songmu was born, I was destined to be the one sacrificed. Dad knew by my expression that things didn't go well. He sighed. Now you understand that 1800 is a lot of money. Mom patted my head. Chaoyang, we did what we could, don't blame us. Songmu, frustrated, blurted out, I'm starving, can we eat first? At dinner, my parents said, why don't you just join Xiaoshuaiyan vocational school, you can look out for each other. I want to go to high school, I'll find a way to get the money. Dad slammed his chopsticks down. Do you need a beating to listen? We're already being generous suggesting vocational school. Other girls in the village start working right after junior high to support their families. What more do you want? Mom tried to persuade me softly, but parents, none of them made it to first high school, and this is my second chance at life. If I give in now, I deserve to be stuck in the mud forever, never to rise. As we were at a standoff, the black dog in the yard kept barking. Under the dim moonlight, Debo stood in the shadow of the big camphor tree, pushing a bicycle, and softly called me. Chaoyang, come here. Debo handed me a stack of money. There were 100 yuan notes, 50s, and even 1s and 5s. Some were frayed at the edges but neatly stacked. The clouds parted, and gentle moonlight illuminated his wrinkled face. He handed me the money, his face filled with an apologetic look. I don't have more, you'll have to figure out the living expenses yourself. Tears welled up in my eyes as I trembled. Taking the money, wait, I'll go back and get paper to write an IOU. Debo grabbed my arm. No need, but you must place in the top 300 in your final exams, only then can you get into a decent university, and I will continue to support you. He paused. My funds are limited, I only hope to help those who truly deserve it. Debo even refused to come in for a drink of water. He instructed me, don't let anyone know I'm paying your tuition. I understand. Laughter without malice. Criticism without hatred. People in the countryside sometimes have a more straightforward and vicious way of expressing themselves. Debo hurried away on his bicycle, cloaked in moonlight. During the summer vacation, I collected cicada shells, searched for river snails, caught crayfish, and used a net to catch wild fish and shrimp when the water levels rose. All these things could be exchanged for money. Before the start of the school term, I quietly gave Debo a large bag of dried shrimp. Including the 100 yuan my mother gave me, I only had 300 yuan in total. Even if I ate steamed buns every day, it wouldn't last a semester. Fortunately, I was quick-witted and went to see the principal on the first day of registration. I explained my situation and repeatedly expressed my determination to study hard and find a part-time job at the school. He really was a good teacher. After reviewing my grades and thinking it over, he allowed me to clean and organize the library twice a week, and he gave me meal tickets worth 150 yuan a month. Back then, a meat dish in the cafeteria started at 2 yuan, while a vegetable dish was only 1 yuan. The 150 yuan in meal tickets greatly relieved my financial pressure, but not everyone was as kind as he was. Our grade had over 700 students. I was ranked nearly 600th. I was placed in a regular class. Many in my class were sponsored students. My seat was at the very back. The girl in front of me brought a high stool to sit on, which blocked most of the blackboard. The self-paying student next to me never studied properly. As soon as class began, they started passing notes and whispering. My foundation was already weak, and such a learning environment was truly terrible. I reported the situation to Teacher Lee, the class advisor, but he simply said lightly, "Why don't you swap stools with her? Moreover, just try harder. And if you get good grades in the midterms, I'll change your seat." When I left the office, I overheard Teacher Lee joking with other teachers. No grades, no background, yet full of complaints. At that moment, I really wanted to rush in and slap him, but the reality is, life is always so cruel. If you don't have money, you must have personal strength, otherwise, your voice will be drowned out, and your needs will be ignored. The kindness of Debo and the principal was a rare virtue. Teacher Lee's opportunism represented the harsh reality. I was determined to do everything in my power to change my fate. I didn't want to just hastily marry and end up in a tragic situation. During the break, I made small cards with English words and stuck them in my palm, so I could memorize about 10 words while exercising. During lunch break, while others were playing around, I stuffed cotton in my ears and focused on solving problems. After lights out, The lights in the residential building across from the dormitory would turn on, and I would stand by the corridor window, using the faint light to preview the content of the next day's lessons. Today, as I was helping in the library, a tall, thin boy came over with a flushed face. He asked the librarian on duty, Mr. Wang, if he needed a part-time worker. Mr. Wang pointed at me and said, "You're too late." The boy glanced at me and left disappointed, as Mr. Wang put books back on the shelf. He whispered to me, "That boy, Zhang Jia, is ranked first in your grades entry year, and I've heard his family's financial situation isn't good either." Zhang Jia, it was him, the boy Debo had sponsored, who got into Tsinghua University. That evening, when I went to the cafeteria for dinner, I ran into him again. His food tray only had a serving of shredded potatoes and 4 liang of rice. After dinner, I chatted with the cafeteria's auntie. Then I went to find Zhang Jia and got straight to the point. I just asked the cafeteria owner, and she's hiring part-timers. You can help out for half an hour at lunch and dinner, get meals covered, and earn 100 yuan a month. Do you want to give it a try? Zhang Jia's gaunt hands clenched into fists, his face flushed red. Do I have to stand in front to serve the food? After all, he's just a 15 or 16-year-old kid, too proud to let his guard down. I sighed softly. Well then, how about this? I'll talk to Teacher Wang at the library and see if I can get you transferred there. He froze. I had walked a good distance when he caught up to me and asked, "Why are you helping me?" "Because I've taken advantage of you." It must be because Mr. Deborah had divided the funding originally intended for him, giving half to me, that he was in such a difficult situation. Maybe because we're both poor. He swallowed hard, asking softly, "Aren't you afraid of being talked about by the other students?" I looked up at him. The setting sun danced on his black hair, his youthful face colored with embarrassment and confusion. I said slowly, "What's truly frightening isn't poverty, but the inferiority and cowardice that grow from it, the sensitivity and shallowness. Because of poverty, we hesitate and fear failure, not daring to strive hard, and ultimately miss opportunities. Why fear others' strange looks when you can earn money through your own labor? If you were the son of the cafeteria owner, and you stood there helping serve food to your classmates, would you be afraid of their gossip?" Zhang Jia's pupils quivered, the veins on the back of his hand slightly raised. He whispered, "Before junior high, my family was well off. I laughed. He stared wide-eyed. "What are you laughing at?" "Laughing that even the top students aren't perfect." I reached out my hand to him. "Nice to meet you, the ordinary top student. My name is Song Chao." His damp palm met mine. "I'm Zhang Jia." He made up his mind. "You stay in the library. I'll go ask the cafeteria owner myself later." The next day, I saw him in the cafeteria. His face was as red as a shrimp, and he dared not make eye contact with anyone. His movements in serving food clumsy and frantic. When it was my turn, I said loudly, "Classmate, I'll have a serving of celery with pork, and make it a bit meaty." He suddenly looked up at me, a fleeting smile in his eyes. Then he served me a heaping spoonful of food. "You see, there's someone in the cafeteria." Quite refreshing. Of course, I had other reasons for helping him. The academic atmosphere and performance in the parallel class were far inferior to those in the key class. Even the teachers weren't as dedicated. I needed someone to guide me, and others didn't have the patience. But Zhang Jia did. Whenever I asked him about a problem, he'd help me solve it, over and over, until I understood. My midterm grades were disappointing, ranking over 400 in the grade. Zhang Jia comforted me. "You have a weak foundation. What's most important now is to solidify it. You mustn't get discouraged and give up." "Of course, I won't. I've endured hardships far tougher than this. A setback like this won't bother me." Gradually, rumors started in the grade. They said I liked Zhang Jia, that I was annoyingly clingy under the guise of studying. Whenever I walked with Zhang Jia, there would always be someone whistling. One day at noon, I was called to the office, and the homeroom teacher of Class 1, Teacher Liu, was also there. Teacher Li's expression was grim as he began his reprimand. "You're already performing poorly, and now you're bothering a top student from Class 1. You're a student, and your priority should be your studies, not all this nonsense, and look in the mirror. Do you really think Zhang Jia would be interested in you?" Teacher Liu frowned slightly and interrupted. "Li, don't scold the child like that. Song, I'm not here today to reprimand you, but just to remind you that your studies should be your top priority." I patiently explained. I was just asking him for help with a question. I didn't have any ulterior motives. "Mr. Li slammed the desk, still arguing back. "If you have difficulties, why don't you ask your teachers?" I confronted him. But every time I ask you, you dismiss me in a few words. You don't really intend to teach me properly, Mr. Lee became furious and raised his hand to hit me. Back then, corporal punishment wasn't considered a big deal. Fortunately, Teacher Lu held him back. That afternoon, my seat was moved to the last row near the door. I was completely obscured by two tall athletes in front of me, each about 185 centimeters tall. It felt like people were secretly mocking me, likening me to a toad dreaming of eating swan meat. After evening self-study, Zhang Jia came to find me, having known each other for nearly 2 months. This was the first time he approached me proactively. Song Chao, consider transferring to Class 1. His eyes were intense. I've checked, and there's an opportunity every semester. If you join Class 1, no one will stand in our way again. His face flushed as he hurriedly explained. I mean, stand in the way of our studies. To motivate students, the school would shift the top 6 students from the parallel classes to replace the bottom 6 of the key classes at the end of each semester. I hesitated. Can I really do it? Not this semester, then next semester. Under the dim corridor lights, Zhang Jia's eyes shone like stars. Just persevere, and you definitely can. Song Chao, I'll wait for you in Class 1. This end-of-term exam was crucial for me. I needed to rank at least in the top 300 to continue receiving funding from the board, but I actually wanted to get into the key class even more, to secure a better learning environment and atmosphere. In the following days, apart from sleeping, eating, and working part-time, I studied like mad. As winter deepened, the weather grew colder. I couldn't afford a down jacket, and at night, I studied in the corridor, wrapping all my clothes around me and moving continuously to fend off the cold. The dorm leader quietly opened the door and draped a down jacket over my shoulders. Don't catch a cold. The light bulb on the balcony of the house across had been replaced with one of much higher wattage. The curtains were tightly drawn, and the balcony light often stayed on all night. Teacher Wang would snatch the rag from my hand. Study in my office. The library isn't busy this half-month. It turns out, if you work hard enough, the world will show its kindness to you. It was especially cold during the 2 days of the final exams. The school, mercifully, turned on the heating, which had always been just for show before. I was sweating profusely under too many layers. With the doors and windows of the classroom closed, my head felt foggy, and my hands and feet, affected by chilblains, itched unbearably as they warmed up. I kept telling myself, Song Chao, you must stay alert. The results would only be released a week later. After saying goodbye to Zhang Jia and my roommates, I took a bus back to the village. In the old, overcrowded Jinbei van, packed with 14 people, it rattled along the muddy road. A middle-aged man smoked inside while a baby cried in a woman's arms, who fed the child by lifting her shirt. In 2003, while large cities bustled with traffic, this small, remote county remained mired in mud, stagnant like a still pond. Feeling carsick, I practically fled the vehicle as soon as we reached the village entrance, and was immediately greeted by Aunt Zhang. Why do you look so pale? Someone asked. It seems like she didn't do well on her exams. I've heard that barely anyone from the regular classes at that school gets into a good university, added another village woman. Some of the other women in the village also said similar things, criticizing my parents for not nurturing their capable son and instead sending their daughter to high school. Isn't that just preparing a dowry for someone else's family? They commented. When I reached the pond near our house, my mom was washing clothes. As soon as she saw me, she stood up, holding her back. Hurry, my back hurts, help me wash these clothes. I had planned to use the winter break to study hard and catch up, but there was always endless chores to do at home, washing clothes, cooking, feeding the chickens and pigs, and tending to the fields. Only at night would I find some time, and even then, my mom complained about the electricity wasted by leaving the light on to read. Meanwhile, Song Mumming would ride his bike around the village every day, not having to lift a finger. Whenever I complained, my mom would defend him. He's a boy, he can't be bothered with these trivial tasks. Song Mumming would roll his eyes at me. These are women's tasks. One day while I was chopping radishes in the kitchen, Song Mumming came in, eating a slice for every slice I cut, and even complained about the late dinner. I couldn't contain my anger. I grabbed his hand and pressed it hard against the chopping board, fiercely warning, Song Mumming, I'm not the same accommodating sister I used to be. If you keep this up, I might just chop off your hand too. Believe it or not, at that moment, I unleashed the devil within, showing my menacing, sharp fangs. Yes, I resented him. I despised his endless demands, his uselessness. and the fact that he stole all of our parents' affection. After that day, Song Mumming became much more cooperative and even started helping me out. You see, love and tolerance don't earn respect. Only when you stand firm do others begin to value and fear you. On the day the report cards were given out, I was heading back to school. My mom disapproved. Why waste the fare? Do you think you can achieve anything spectacular? Aunt Jean, laughing while she beat the clothes, mocked. Is Chao Chao expecting to come back with the top rank in the whole school? Zhang Shuai ran out of the house. There's a play being staged in Wang's village today. Let's go watch it instead. What's so great about a report card? After graduating from a vocational high school and working on an assembly line, I realized the importance of knowledge. I took adult education exams, from associate degree to bachelor's. Meanwhile, Zhang Shuai was always on his phone playing games, often belittling me. Such degrees aren't recognized outside. Don't know what you're busy with. Is studying as fun as gaming? I smiled at him. Enjoy the play, Zhang Shuai. I no longer wish to walk the same path as you. I missed the earliest bus and only reached the school by 9:30 a.m. At the school gate, some fee-paying students were alighting from private cars. Mu Jun whistled at me as I rushed, shouting, Song Chao Chao, no matter how fast you run, it won't add points to your finals. The others laughed loudly. There were 3 honor rolls in the first year: the overall performance list, the key class list, and the regular class list. I pushed my way through to the regular class list in the chilly wind and overcast sky. My heart was pounding with anticipation, searing hot. Was my name in the top 607? First place, not me. Second place, also not me. Third, not me. Fourth, not me. Fifth, not me. My heart grew colder as I took a deep breath. I only glanced at the 6th name, Song Chao Chao. I rubbed my eyes hard. At that moment, the sun peeked through the thick clouds, casting a vast radiance upon the world. The name Song Chao Chao, glowing like a halo, pierced into my eyes. In just a moment, my eyes were already brimming with tears. Zhang Jia had squeezed his way to my side at some point, patting me on the back. Song Chao Chao, you are truly incredible. I turned to look at him, tears rolling down fiercely. He panicked. Why are you crying? Frantically patting himself down, he couldn't find a single tissue. Eventually, he awkwardly offered his sleeve. Don't cry, use this to wipe your tears. I wiped my tears harshly with his sleeve. I'm just so happy. I had actually done it. Indeed, I deserved this splendid warmth of the winter sun. Indeed, I too could have a different life. Zhang Jia pulled his arm back and smiled slightly. Song Chao Chao, I'll be waiting for you in the advanced class. I'd have to go to the classroom to get the detailed report card. Mr. Li was waiting at the classroom door. As I passed by him, I smiled brightly. Mr. Li, it's a pity. Next semester I won't be your student anymore. Mr. Li's mouth twitched, his smile forced. Mu Jun's uncle got promoted, so next semester, you'll still be my student. At that moment, my blood ran cold as if someone had poured ice into my veins. Mr. Li patted my shoulder. If only you had scored just one more point, someone else would have been bumped down instead of you. No, it's not about me scoring one more point or one less. The rule itself is fundamentally flawed, but I'm too weak now. I can't change the rules, I can only change myself. There must be some way to remedy this. There must be. I paced back and forth anxiously in the hallway. During that time, Mu Jun passed by me and bumped into me, smirking arrogantly. Sorry, this isn't really your place to stand. Mu Jun walked away, and following his direction, I saw the class teacher of Class 1 and the head of the Grade 1 group, Mr. Liu. He was my opportunity. I ran as fast as I could, squeezing into his office before the door closed, grabbing his arm. Mr. Liu, please let me into the advanced class. I will study hard. I won't hold anyone back. My grades are sufficient. I am ranked 6th in my parallel class. I know this is difficult, but I'm begging you, please give me a chance. In my younger years, I was too ashamed to beg. Now looking back, what are a few pleas compared to a lifetime's prospects? Mr. Liu frowned, his expression troubled. Suddenly, the office door was knocked on, and Zhang Jia stood at the doorway, his posture erect. Mr. Liu, based on her grades, Song Chao Chao should already. Mr. Liu's frown deepened. I quickly interrupted him. Zhang Jia, shut up. Then I turned to Mr. Liu. Sir, I have no inappropriate thoughts towards Zhang Jia. I just want to get into the advanced class. Any class will do. If you have concerns, I took a deep breath. I can keep my distance from Zhang Jia in the future. Zhang Jia's expression darkened. Mr. Liu looked at me deeply. I don't oppose students interacting normally for learning purposes. Go home and wait for news. This matter. I will do my best to fight for you. I went downstairs with Zhang Jia. His lips were tightly pursed, and he remained silent. Once we reached downstairs, he strode forward quickly. I called out to him, I'm sorry, Zhang Jia. People like us, stuck in the mud, must have the determination to abandon everything and desperately climb upwards. Only then can we succeed. I raised my hand and stretched my fingers towards the sunlight in a grasping motion. I need a substantial stepping stone to knock on doors. Do you understand? He stopped and turned to look at me. Against the light, his expression was indistinct. I understand now. He took a few steps forward, and I could see the gentleness in his eyes. I understand you, but I'd rather we be comrades, advancing and retreating together, walking out of difficulties side by side. He had grown so quickly. He was a completely different person from the one who, a few months ago, was afraid to show his face and dealt with vegetables. It made me feel ashamed. When I returned to the village, Aunt Zhang was in the yard, preparing the chicken for tomorrow's meal. The chicken was upside down, its bright red blood dripping into a cracked porcelain bowl. She asked me with ill intent, Chow Chow, how did the exams go? Not bad, ranked a bit over 100 in my grade. Her face froze, and she forcefully swallowed the mockery that had almost escaped her lips. The next day was the celebration of the Little New Year. My aunt from the city had come back. The whole family gathered for a meal. She had strongly opposed me attending high school, and now, in front of everyone, she dissed me. I heard you were placed in the regular class. What future can that have? It's just a waste of time. At the table, many relatives echoed her sentiment. A girl doesn't need to study so much. You're just thoughtless. Look how tired your parents are. Marrying a good man is what's most important, I calmly said. This term, I ranked 6th in the regular class, 135th in the grade. There was a moment of silence at the table. My aunt's face looked uncomfortable. After a while, she regretfully clicked her tongue. It's a pity you're a girl. If only Shamu had such grades. But Shamu is also not bad. I heard he ranked in the top 50 this term. He has potential. He needs to keep it up. The relatives began praising my brother. Do they really not realize the difference between being in the top 100 at a central school and being in the top 50 at a rural middle school? Of course, they do, but in their eyes, girls are insignificant. The hope of the family must rest on the boys. My aunt glanced at me and said, one final exam doesn't prove anything. You still need to get into the key class to have any hope. Just then, my dad's pager rang. He's not used to holding it to his ear and always uses speakerphone. On the other end, Teacher Lu's gentle voice came through. Is this the parent of Song Chow Chow? I'm calling to tell you that your daughter can join Class 1 next term. Song Chow Chow is intelligent, sensible, and ambitious. You're very fortunate to have such a daughter. I don't know how much effort he made. How much he struggled to achieve this result. I grabbed the phone, choked up, and said thank you. Teacher Lu chuckled. You deserve it. Have a good new year. After hanging up, the table fell silent. My aunt seemed to be grinding her teeth, her smile stiff as she said, You're really lucky. I am lucky, but my good fortune was all fought for by myself. Although most of the relatives did not think highly of me, there were still those who clapped for me. It was Uncle Da. He also returned to the countryside on the 28th of the lunar month. After all, this place was his route. He always comes back for the new year. On the first day of the lunar new year, I visited his house to offer my greetings. Taking advantage of the moment when his wife went to pour tea, he patted my shoulder with relief. I heard you got into the top class. That's really good. He discreetly slipped a stack of money into my hand. Keep this quickly. It's for next semester's tuition. The extra is your New Year's money. By the end of your first year in high school, you should aim to be in the top 100 of your grade. His wife doesn't really like me, or rather, she doesn't seem to like anyone from this village equally. Due to health reasons, she couldn't have more children after their daughter, and many people behind her back criticized her for being a hen that doesn't lay eggs. Some even encouraged her husband to divorce her and remarry someone who could continue the family line. Despite the fact that her husband's small restaurant was doing well, the villagers still talked. What's the use of making so much money when you don't have a son? Are you going to spend it all on your grandchildren? She brought me a cup of ginger salt bean tea. It was very salty. Knowing the situation well, I took a couple of sips and quickly got up to leave. When I counted at home, he had given me 2,100. He even included 300 as New Year's money. In his small shop, a dish of chili fried meat over rice sells for just 5 yuan, 2,100. I wondered how many dishes he had to sell to earn that. During the New Year period, I wasn't idle either. I dug up many winter bamboo shoots on the mountain. Before he returned to the city, I took a sack of them to him. After delivering them, I ran off, but his wife chased after me and handed me 50 yuan. I'm not taking these for free. Use this to buy some new clothes. A significant event occurred this New Year. A female university graduate from the village next door had taken out a loan to buy a house in the provincial capital a few years after graduating, and had moved her parents there as well. She even managed to get her younger brother into a school in the city. This caused quite a stir in the countryside. It turned out that doing well in school could have such great benefits. School started on the 12th day of the first lunar month. The night before, my father gave me 100 yuan. From now on, we'll give you 100 yuan each month for living expenses. You'll have to figure out the rest on your own. I was a bit moved at the moment, but then he added, study hard, get into a good university, and later on, help support the family and your brother. My heart instantly cooled again. The next day, I went to class 10 to collect my books and belongings. The self-paying students were all there. They no longer whistled at me, just watched as I packed up. I sorted everything into a supermarket plastic bag and then, smiling, waved goodbye to them. See you. When I got to class 1, I discovered that Mu Jun was also there. Thinking back and forth, I roughly understood the situation. As the grade leader, Teacher Lu could have placed Mu Jun, who was lagging behind, into another class, but to pull me up as well, he had to compromise and bring Mu Jun along to class 1. Zhang Jia was sitting in the best spot in the center of the classroom. Seeing me, his eyes curved into a smile, and he gave me a shallow nod. I smiled back and waved at him as a greeting. Halfway through my wave, I heard Mu Jun's sneer, "You really are persistent, thinking that being in class 1 will change anything. Even if you get into university, you'll still end up working for people like me." I withdrew my hand calmly and replied, "I know, but there's always a chance if you try, Mu Jun. Class will always exist, but you won't necessarily always be on top." Zhang Jia can memorize most of the content after reading it just 2 or 3 times, but I need to go over it 10 times. He can solve a problem in a few minutes, whereas I barely understand it even after he explains it to me 3 times. Studying is like climbing a mountain. It's not hard to climb from the foot of the mountain to halfway up. But climbing from halfway to the top, each step widens the gap between climbers. I gave it my all, relentlessly, and by the end of the first term in senior high, I ranked 95th in my grade, barely squeezing into the top 100. That was already quite an achievement, based on previous year's admission rates. If I could maintain my performance, getting into a top university wouldn't be a problem. Zhang Jia and I became desk mates. Initially, all the teachers paid extra attention to us. Ultimately, they were afraid I might negatively influence him. Later, when they realized we were just a study group encouraging each other, they left us to our own devices. Zhang Jia probably received around 20 love letters a week. Once, looking at those envelopes, I felt a bit jealous. This is the treatment for the top student of the grade. Only those who shine like you have a youthful life. For someone ordinary like me, even if I started over, there would be no love. He threw all those letters into the trash can, looked at me intently, and said word by word, "This is not the youth I want." "What do you want then?" "Unwavering goals, relentless effort, never giving up." He smiled at me. "That's what I want, that's how it should be." By the end of the first term of my second year in senior high, I ranked 65th in my grade. By the end of the second term, I was 49th, for the first time. I made it into the top 50. After the report cards were released, Mr. Lu called me to his office. "Song Chao Chao, you must keep this up, this 1 year, no matter how tough or tiring. With your current grades, getting into a top 985 university is definitely within reach." Zhang Jia was still the top student in our grade. He looked at my report card and was genuinely happy for me. "Song Chao Chao, you are really amazing." I went to the diner to share the good news with him. During the peak of summer, the kitchen was sweltering and filled with oily smoke. The strong smell of chili was so intense that it made his eyes red. Good, you're really doing well." I helped serve the dishes to the customers, and when I returned to the kitchen, I found him counting money with his saliva. "In your senior year, focus on your studies, no need to work part-time. I'll give you 250 yuan a month for living expenses. It should be enough, no need. I'm already grateful that you're paying for my tuition." "Listen to me, if you're really grateful, getting into a good university is better than anything." His eyes were red. "When my daughter wanted to go to high school, I was poor and short-sighted and made her work in Guangdong. She still resents us to this day. Take it, child." He handed me a stack of neatly arranged bills. Just then, the greasy curtain was lifted, and the auntie came in with 2 newly sharpened shiny kitchen knives. In that moment, all the hairs on my body stood on end. Debo was even more nervous, his hands trembling. The auntie looked coldly at me, then at Debo, and snorted heavily. "What are you staring at? Didn't you hear the customers outside rushing for their orders?" She snatched the money from Debo's hands and stuffed it into my pocket. Holding the 2 kitchen knives, she said to me, "If you don't get into a good university, I'll chop you up and stir-fry you with chili." I was too shocked to speak. The auntie impatiently said, "Get out, get out. The kitchen is too small for so many people." I took the money and went home. The atmosphere at home was gloomy. Song Mu's middle school exam results had just come out. He missed the admission cutoff for the top school by 30 points. Dad, puffing on a cigarette, said, "We still have to send him to the top school. He can't just farm for the rest of his life." Mom agreed. "His vision is already 400 degrees, how can he farm?" But for Song Mu to get into that school, the sponsorship fee would be 5,000. Mom and Dad sighed deeply, glancing over at me frequently. I was busy working on practice test papers from Huanggang, pretending not to hear them. In the middle of the night, around 2 o'clock, I woke up feeling hot. The 2 fans in the house, one was used by my parents, the other given to Song Mu. I didn't have one. Only a faint moonlight shone from the sky, the room dimly lit. My parents were rummaging through my backpack with a flashlight. She must have gotten the tuition for next semester from Brother De, just don't know where she put it. It turned out they always knew that Uncle De was funding me. At that moment, I felt like I had fallen into hell. Holding back my rage, I asked, "What are you looking for?" They both froze. Dad turned on the room light, his expression stern. "Your brother needs 5,000 for high school. I know you have some money. Give it to him for now." "What about me?" We'll figure something else out. If we can't, you'll just have to stop studying and go work in Guangdong. That way, you can support your brother's education." The cruelest words in the world, perhaps. Why should I? I couldn't hold back anymore, tears streaming down. "Aren't I your child too? I perform well, I strive to advance, I ranked in the top 50 of my grade. Why should I have to step aside for him? Can't you be a little fair? Just because he is a boy, do you even deserve to be parents? If in a previous life, it was I who wasn't determined enough, who didn't work hard enough, but now, I've changed all that. This shining me, don't I deserve a second glance from them?" My dad, embarrassed and angry, threw the flashlight at me. "Have your studies gone to your head, to speak to me like this?" I didn't dodge. The flashlight grazed my forehead, leaving a deep gash. My dad didn't apologize and just walked out of the room. Mom pressed a rag against my wound. She kept sighing, "You know your dad's temper. Why do you have to compete with him? He's already good enough to you." Really, blood blurred my vision, and I managed a bitter smile. "Mom, he's a man, he can't empathize with me." "I understand that, but you're a woman too. Why do you also have to be an accomplice? Do you also think only boys are worth raising? You've seen my efforts." Mom couldn't meet my gaze. She stuttered, "But Chow Chow, you'll have to marry someday. We rely on your brother for our old age. Every family in the village does this. Your dad and I faced a lot of pressure just sending you to high school. If you go and your brother doesn't, we'd be the laughingstock of the village. We've raised you all these years. Shouldn't you also consider our situation? In my past life, I was too considerate of you. Inch by inch, step by step, I gave up my own life. This life, I will not yield again." Seeing my distressed expression, Mom rubbed her hands on her legs. "So, what if you let your brother use the money for now? Are you going to ask Dagu to borrow more money? He runs such a big store, he should be able to spare some," she said. At that moment, I felt my anger shoot through the roof. "Mom, how can you even say such a thing?" I replied. "Even if Debo has 100 million, it's his hard-earned money. Kind people should be appreciated, not exploited." "Mom, please try to be decent parents." The next morning, I packed my bags and left the house with my backpack on. My dad stood at the door with a carrying pole. "Where are you going?" "Back to school," I answered. He raised the pole. "Your brother needs to study. How can you be so careless and selfish? Only thinking about yourself. I could kill you with this pole." I walked towards him, staring him down. "Then go ahead and kill me. Since you won't let me continue my education, it's as good as killing me anyway. If you really want to stop me today, then we are through. When you both die, I won't even come to cry at your graves." My dad, furious, his face turning red and veins bulging, raised the pole high. I didn't care and kept walking. The situation was out of control when suddenly Song-moo came out of the house. He grabbed my dad's arm. "Let her go, she's meant to study." "I'm not." I gave him a surprised look. He glared at me fiercely. "What are you staring at? Just go." In my past life, during Song-moo's middle school exams, I had just started working on an assembly line. Back then, my parents called me, begging me to think of something. Song-moo, commanding over the phone, said, "You're working now. You should at least prepare 2,000 yuan for me, later." I advanced some of my salary and borrowed money to send 2,000 yuan back home. I hadn't been able to attend high school myself, hoping he would turn out well, but he only managed to get into a diploma course. Now I realize, in my previous life, brainwashed by my parents, I indulged Song-moo too much. Everything at home revolved around him, so he took it all for granted and never appreciated it. But after being reborn, carrying resentment, I never showed him a pleasant face. I talked to him harshly and never pampered him. Perhaps because of this, I managed to preserve some of his kindness. On the road, I met several elders. They all told me to understand the difficulties of my parents and to be sensible and share the burden. They criticized me for being bad-tempered and rude, and Zhang even said that the most important thing for a girl is to get married and have children, and questioned the need for so much education. Now is the time to hurry up and have a son. She said, "This backward, closed-off village was suffocating. I had to escape. I would not end up trapped here for life like in my previous life." Thankfully, Teacher Lu communicated with the dormitory supervisor who allowed me to move in. I didn't have to do any farm work and could focus entirely on my studies. It felt incredibly good. Because of the extra classes, the summer break was short, and soon everyone returned to school. I hadn't called home for over a month. Soon the lower grades started school too. One day during the break, Song-moo actually came to see me. He ended up attending the same school. He carried a big bag. "Mom asked me to give this to you." He handed me a stack of 10 yuan notes. "Dad said my monthly allowance is 300, but he gave me 400, so the extra 100 must be for you." The bag contained pickled long beans and white beans, and stir-fried minced meat with white hot peppers. I don't like ginger. There isn't a single shred of ginger in these jarred vegetables. My heart is a mix of many emotions. Look, this is what parents are like. They tend to slap you hard, trying to mold you into the child they envision. Yet, they'll give you a tiny sweet date, letting you know they do love you a bit. I've lived twice, yet I still can't sever these ties. That day, after dinner, I passed by the notice board. The honor roll for the senior class hadn't been taken down yet. Song-moo, in his military training uniform, stood there with a few classmates. Someone pointed at the list. Song Chao, morning and evening. Song-moo, that name suits you well, and her grades are so good. Under the setting sun, Song-moo lifted his chin proudly. "That's my sister." After the evening self-study, I went to find Song-moo. I gave him all the notes I had made in my freshman year. After the middle school exams, I had a dream where I went to a vocational school, worked on an assembly line, married someone randomly, and eventually died in the hospital during childbirth due to complications. The dim light in the corridor cast a pale shadow on my face. It turns out, a life of over 30 years from my past life could be summarized in just one sentence. I looked at Song-moo. "And you, paid your own way into the best high school, got addicted to games, ended up with a diploma and couldn't find a good job. You finally got a girlfriend, but she left you because she thought you were too poor." Song-moo, I don't want my life to be as tragic as that dream, so I strive with all my might. As for whether you want to drift through life aimlessly or start striving now to change your life, that's for you to decide. I tossed the notes at him and walked away. For an entire semester, I didn't go home. Sometimes, my mom would send me some things through Song-moo. I studied day and night. In my previous life, I self-studied for a diploma and a bachelor's degree, but those were nothing compared to the real college entrance exam, top 50 in the grade. It wasn't just about working hard, it was about having talent, or like Zhang Jia, combining both talent and effort. The moment I relaxed, someone would surpass me. Sometimes I would think, even a high school in a small county is so competitive, what about top high schools? Or at the provincial or national level, I am but a drop in the ocean. Yet even if I am an invisible speck of dust, I will try my hardest to rise with the wind. Perhaps I'll land on a mountain peak, becoming a grain of sand that overlooks the ranges, or maybe I'll land on a skyscraper, sharing the breath and fate of the city's bustling traffic. In any case, I won't be stuck in the mud of Ming Mountain Village again. Sometimes I'm so tired I don't even want to talk. There are moments of doubt too, living a life anew. Why can't I be as powerful as those characters in novels? It's always Zhang Jia who pulls me back. In the chilly nights of April, he smiles under the brilliant starry sky, saying, "Hang in there, we're close to victory." The spring flowers bloom and then fade, the gardenia quietly buds. I don't know when it started, but as I pass by the small garden under the third-year building, there's a faint fragrance in the air. The gardenias have bloomed. Finally, the college entrance exam is here. This is the test of my 3 years of hard work, and whether I've made the right choices since my rebirth. I'm lucky that the exam venue is at my own school. It poured rain on those 2 days of exams. Raindrops pelted against the glass, creating a crackling sound. It suddenly reminded me of the day I gave birth. The weather was just like today. My cries of pain and pleas were shattered by the heavy rain. Outside the door, my mother-in-law's curses and Zhang Shuai's shouts, urging me to hold on a little longer, pounded on my chest like a drum. That time, I walked towards death in a torrential downpour. This time, I am to embrace rebirth amidst the thunderstorm. After the last exam, I walked out of the examination hall and saw Zhang Jia coming out from a classroom at the far end of the corridor. The continuous rain of the past 2 days had stopped at some unknown time. A summer rainbow hung across the sky. He smiled at me across the bustling crowd. I smiled back, and as I did, tears began to flow. During the days waiting for the results, I returned to the village. In the past 3 years, only Song Mu and I from this backward mountain village had made it into the top high school. The other kids either went to work in Guangdong right after graduation or pursued a diploma before joining the assembly line. The villagers still remembered me as the one who barely made it into the top high school. Being a girl who excels in studies isn't considered something to boast about, so, the women would ask, "Chaoyang, can you get into a regular university? If you only make it into a third-tier college, your parents definitely won't be able to afford it." Aunt Jean Tisk sked, "I always said high school was useless. Look at my Xiao Shuai. He started working last year and has already sent home 5,000 yuan." For a moment, the women were full of envy, praising Aunt Zhang for her parenting skills. Their vision was limited. They thought the 5,000 yuan in hand was more reliable than an uncertain future of 50 or 500,000. Aunt Zhang looked at me with a smile. "Chaoyang, you're not getting any younger. Why don't you just go work with Xiao Shuai this time and later on become my daughter-in-law?" "I won't mistreat you," my aunt, who was slightly more insightful, commented. "After all, it's a key class at the top high school. You should be able to get into a second-tier college. But these days a second-tier degree isn't very valuable unless it's from a top university." Yet initially, she had said that graduating from a vocational school was good enough. 2 days before the exam results, Zhang Jia called me. "Chaoyang, have you thought about which university you want to apply to? Let's see the scores first." He paused, then said, "Tsinghua and Peking University both called me. I wanted to ask which city you will be in." Having lived twice, I quickly understood his implication. Where I go isn't important, Zhang Jia. The important thing is where you want to go. With your intellect, only Tsinghua or Peking University is fitting. You need to be responsible for your life and the talent God has bestowed upon you. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Finally, he said softly, "Then I'll go to Tsinghua." On the official day the results came out. It was a sunny day. Uncle Wang in the village was having a beam-raising ceremony for his new house that day, and all the village labor was called to help, including my father. Around noon, I went to him to borrow a phone to make the call. Uncle Wang's family was large. It was lunchtime, and everyone was sitting under the shade of the trees eating and chatting. Aunt Zhang was there too, she cheerfully said. "Chaoyang is checking her scores. Let's hear them here. Let everyone listen." I dialed the inquiry number, and after a long wait, under the watchful eyes of everyone, the scores started to be announced over the phone. Chinese, 128, Mathematics, 127, English, 138, Science Comprehensive, 274, total, 667. That year, the exam was quite challenging. The cutoff score for science majors was 547. I really outdid myself. At that moment, I felt as if I was floating in the air, my feet soft and cushiony. As if I was walking on cotton. It all seemed so unreal. Is this score really mine? Does it belong to someone who was just a vocational high school student? My dad dropped his chopsticks and stood up abruptly. "Play it again." I didn't hear it clearly. Over the speakerphone, the mechanical female voice repeated my score. The lively dinner table fell silent, so quiet you could hear the rustling of the leaves in the breeze. Dad looked at his phone, then at me, back and forth, his voice trembling. He asked, "With these scores, what kind of university can you get into?" I smiled gently. Most universities in the country, even though no one at the table had attended high school, they all understood what it meant to score 120 points above the cutoff for top-tier universities. Uncle Juan fetched a large plastic jug of liquor. "Old Song, this is a big celebration, let's drink a few more glasses today." Aunt Zhang muttered, "Could there be a mistake? Your grades were pretty average before." "Just slightly better than Xiao Shuai's. If university entrance were this easy, I should have made Xiao Shuai attend high school." Amidst the warm buzz of alcohol, my dad, his face flushed with joy, said, "It's a pity Chao is a girl, if only she were a boy." Everyone nodded in agreement. Uncle Wang said, "Your son Xiaomu is also studying at No. 1 high school. If Chao can achieve such great scores, Xiaomu should be able to get into Tsinghua or Peking University." Dad laughed heartily. "That's quite possible. My son has always been smart." The conversation then turned to everyone's sons. The midday sun was glaring and hot, sweat covered my back and forehead. Changing these outdated notions was never going to happen overnight, but I believe, at least for today, they began to realize, a girl is also worth investing in. Considering my scores and following Teacher Lu's advice, I eventually applied to Zhejiang University. The admission notice was picked up by my dad from the village entrance. He used the notice as a fan to cool himself. What was a 10-minute walk took him over an hour to get home. Upon returning, he pulled out a handful of loose cigarettes from his pocket. They were all premium Jean Baisha. He clicked his tongue. "Everyone has good cigarettes at home, too precious for casual visitors, usually just passing tokens of affection." My cousin visited during the summer break with her daughter, who attends a regular high school in the city. She beamed with pride and praised me. "Chao, I always knew you were destined for great things. Your sister is really struggling with some subjects. Since you're free over the summer, maybe you could tutor her." Pushing her daughter forward, she boasted, "Your sister got into Zhejiang University, quite impressive." I smiled. "My homeroom teacher has introduced me to some tutoring gigs. 15 yuan per hour, if you want me to tutor." "I need to schedule your time first." My cousin's face changed slightly. Family members charging each other for tutoring, even close siblings keep clear accounts. She left somewhat embarrassed. Knowledge can indeed be effectively transformed into money. Zhang Jia tutors students for 20 yuan an hour because he's a student at Tsinghua, and me, at 15 yuan an hour. Another classmate charges 12 yuan. Teacher Lu found me a place to stay. The landlord does not charge me rent. All she needs is for someone to help her daughter with her homework every day. Her daughter is only in the 3rd grade of elementary school. Look at this, under the same sky, in the same small town, parents in this world are not all the same. Some would rather clip their children's wings, while others prepare in advance, eager to support their children's flight early on. I teach for 4 hours a day, and the students' parents give me milk and seasonal fruits, earning me 60 yuan. During the slack farming season, my dad works as a laborer, toiling for 10 hours under the sun and wind, earning just 30 yuan. Perhaps it was from this moment, my parents truly understood that I was different from before. They realized the heights a female college student could reach, something beyond what they had ever imagined. After class that day, on my way home, I unexpectedly ran into Song Mu. He and a few classmates were coming out of an internet cafe. Seeing me, he panicked instantly, hastily explaining, "It was a middle school reunion. I'm heading back tonight." I was calm. "It's your life, you manage it." I turned to leave, but he followed me. He looked wronged. "Song Chao, what have I done to offend you? You didn't used to treat me this way," he shouted. "Are you still my sister?" The setting sun was brilliant, highlighting the sweat beads on his forehead. I took a deep breath and slowly said, "Song Mu, born into our kind of family, in our kind of environment, we can only rely on ourselves. If you try your best to change your life, I can lend you a hand. If you choose to degrade yourself, I will not reach out, because I don't want to risk my own life too. If you think I'm selfish and don't acknowledge me as your sister, that's okay. I don't care either." Song Mu was visibly shaken. He breathed heavily, as if he had countless words he wanted to hurl at me. However, after a minute of confrontation, he dejectedly lowered his head. "I'm sorry, I'll start studying hard from tomorrow." My college tuition was funded through loans. My mother handed me 5 crumpled 100 yuan bills. She advised me, "When you're in a different place, be cautious in your actions and speech, try not to offend anyone, and prioritize harmony, be frugal with money, you know our family's situation. I pushed the money back, I can earn money myself, you keep it, my mother, with tears in her eyes, praised me for being sensible. Little did she know, I simply didn't want to owe anyone favors. By not accepting kindness, I could be more detached and heartless later. Without feeling guilty, Debo found me privately, offering me 2,000 yuan. I didn't take it. Once I'm at university, in a big city, I'll have plenty of opportunities. Debo, thank you for saving me back then. Debo just smiled. I was just making up for a regret. The prosperity of Hangzhou is far beyond what the small county town can compare. Many students from small villages take a long time to adapt, but I don't need to, because I've seen greater prosperity. I already have a significant enough stepping stone. Now, it's time to completely change my fate using this foreknowledge. Opportunities came quickly. Our dorm mate, Jie, her family actually owns a clothing factory, but now it's about to go bankrupt. Back then, in Jiangsu and Zhejiang, there were many such clothing factories. The products we all produce are quite similar. Without any advantages, it's easy to be eliminated. She gave us a bunch of t-shirts, each reportedly costing just over $1. These simple, unadorned clothes smelled like a business opportunity to me. It was 2006, Taobao was on the rise, but not yet booming. Only a few avant-garde individuals were willing to shop online. Back then there was no free shipping or 7-day return policy without reason. Whether you could find something suitable was purely a matter of luck. During the National Day holiday, I went home with Jie and shared with her father the bright future of opening a store on Taobao. Early Taobao stores were mostly middlemen making a margin. We could run a direct sales store from the factory. This would allow us to cut costs and be among the first to capture the market. The required investment wasn't much. We could find models and photographers from among university students. They had the time, were willing to revise repeatedly, and were relatively inexpensive. As for the designer, I already had someone in mind. In my previous life, I was a team leader in a garment workshop and had met the company's design manager. Since we were from the same province, we chatted for a bit. She said she graduated from the China Academy of Art. Considering her age, she should be a junior in college now. With persistent persuasion and Jie's incessant coaxing, her father finally agreed. He asked me, "How much salary do you want?" "I'll manage the operations, and I'd like relative freedom in decision-making. I want 15% of the net profits as my income." Jie's dad laughed. "If this fails, you won't earn a penny." "It won't fail. If it did, that would mean I've wasted decades of my life." Back then, Taobao didn't have Tmall stores yet. We first registered a personal storefront. Since there was no mandatory 7-day return policy, we didn't even need to pay a deposit. In 2007, the store officially went online, named New Life. It was a new beginning for Jie's dad's factory, and for me as well. I was incredibly busy every day, zipping around on an electric scooter. For easier communication, I bought a second-hand laptop. Zhang Jiyuan was in Beijing, busy with his studies. Sometimes we chatted on QQ, but after a few words, I had to rush off to handle other matters. The night before the store went online, he told me, "Zhao, it's windy in Beijing, looks like it's going to snow again. I feel like you're a gust of wind I can't grasp." It was already past 1 in the morning. I looked up and saw the stars outside the window. I replied with a smile, "The weather in Hangzhou is great, I see many stars." Zhang Jiyuan, to me, "You were once those unreachable stars in the sky, why try to grasp me? I am the wind. And you are the stars, we can always walk side by side under the same sky." After a long while, he replied, "I remember what you said back then." One day, when chatting with Zhang Jiyuan, he mentioned that after getting into Tsinghua University, he had won several prizes. After deducting his mother's medical expenses, he still had about 100,000 yuan and was thinking of investing it. I opened the stock market app and told him, "Buy stocks, right now, anything will rise. But once the Shanghai Stock Index hits 6,000 points, make sure to sell everything, do not hesitate." In my previous life, I never played the stock market either. The reason I know about it is because there was a workshop supervisor at our factory who, in 2008, lost all his money due to a major stock market crash and ended up deeply in debt. Unable to cope with the stress, he eventually jumped from a building and took his own life. At that time, there was a lot of talk in the factory, and I heard many people saying that they should have sold their stocks when the market hit 6,000 points. Jean Jia trusted me on this. He watched the stocks climb higher every day and asked me if I was some kind of prophet. Jean Jia, do you know a flower called the snow willow? I asked him. People think it's dead when it's cut and dried, but just give it enough water, and it will bloom again. I'm not a prophet, I'm just a snow willow that has come back to life. My energy was still focused on running the store. Our target customers were young urban women. They had purchasing power and were willing to try new things. Within just a year, the store had improved significantly. 2008 was a booming year for Taobao and also for the emergence of new women's fashion stores. It dramatically turned around Jia Jia's father's factory from the brink of loss to profit, because I had to balance studies and work, and often visit the factory to check on samples. I forced myself to get a driver's license and bought a used car. Jia's father kept his promise to give dividends every 6 months, always on time. In the summer of my sophomore year, Songmu took his college entrance exams. He got into a 211 university. My parents were overjoyed, threw a big feast, and insisted I come home to celebrate. I arrived in the village in a new outfit, wearing sunglasses, and driving my used sedan. Everyone was stunned, even my parents were shocked. I hadn't been home for 2 years, and every time they called to ask if I needed money, I said I didn't. In their minds, they probably thought I was just scraping by tutoring. The most shocked were my aunt and Aunt Zhang. They huddled together whispering. Eventually, my aunt disdainfully said, "Chow chow. Students should focus on their studies and not get involved in shady businesses." Aunt Zhang agreed. "We shouldn't earn money that's not clean." You see, in their eyes, a woman making a lot of money must be up to no good. Even my parents were doubtful. "Where did you get all this money from, and what are you wearing? Such a short skirt, and your top doesn't even have sleeves." Everyone was talking. Finally, it was the village secretary's niece, who worked on the assembly line, who cleared things up for me. Guess what? She had seen me at the factory when I was checking on the merchandise, but there were so many workers, I didn't remember her at all. Suddenly, the villagers were all abuzz. They all wanted to know how I made so much money. They were envious, saying that education really does pay off. Look at that, still in university and already driving a car, wearing such fancy clothes and shoes. My parents were beaming with pride. My father, holding my hand, laughed heartily. I always knew she would make something of herself. You all told me not to bother educating a girl. Now you see, my daughter is really something. Everyone offered their compliments. The elders in the clan tried to guilt me. Now that you're making money, you'll have to take care of your brother's education. Your family's house is too old. You should pay to build your parents a new one. I didn't bother to respond. My aunt pulled me aside, her face full of ingratiating smiles. "Your cousin has been unemployed at home for years. He can't find a job. You're so capable now. You should really sort something out for him. What does he want to do?" My aunt slapped her thigh. "Of course, he should work in an office, drink tea, and read the newspaper every day. He can't handle strenuous jobs. His health has always been poor. As for the salary, 2,000 yuan a month should be enough. He's a legitimate technical secondary school graduate." I couldn't help but laugh. I have a classmate whose factory is short of security guards, paying 800 yuan a month with rotating shifts. If my cousin is willing, I could introduce him. The look on my aunt's face was as ugly as it could get, but she no longer dared to lecture me like she used to, because our positions had changed. These past few years, I've rarely contacted my family, but every now and then, Songmu would call me. We didn't have much in common, so after asking if I had eaten and if I was doing well, we would hang up. That night, after the guests had left, my dad said, "Your Uncle Da's shop needs to relocate and he seems to be having some trouble. He helped you before, you should go see him." Sometimes, I really don't know how to judge my family. They are selfish, but they also know gratitude. The next morning, I went to see Uncle Da. His business was suffering because the bus station had moved. He wanted to set up a new storefront, but he didn't have enough money. I gave him 80,000. Uncle Da absolutely refused to take it. "You, a young girl, worked so hard to earn this money. Keep it for yourself, save it for your dowry. Please take it, you deserve it. The help you gave me before is worth far more than this money. If it wasn't for your help when I was in a tough spot, I might be on a production line right now." After much persuasion, Uncle Da finally accepted. He wiped the corner of his eye. "I'm glad. I didn't choose the wrong person. Seeing you succeed truly makes me happy." My parents wanted me to pay for Songmu's tuition and living expenses. He refused. "I'm a grown man, fully capable. Why should a woman support me? If she can earn money while studying at university, why can't I? I don't want it. At that moment, I realized he had grown up. Excessive pampering and indulging are like aphids on a young tree. Over time, they will completely devour the sapling, but storms, although they can blow the tree sideways. Only through such trials can the sapling eventually stand strong on its own. After that summer, my status had changed. At family gatherings, where previously I might not have been allowed at the table when there were many guests, now I always had a seat. The elder relatives would scold their children by saying, "If only you were half as worry-free as your sister Chow Chow." Aunts and uncles all wanted to benefit from my success. My parents, easily swayed, would occasionally speak well of those relatives. Unfortunately, their words were ineffectual. One New Year's Day, I went to wish Uncle De well. My mother looked downcast. "Chow Chow, do you dislike your mom?" "We also had our difficulties. It's not really about dislike, it's just hard to feel close. For the rest of my life, I will do my duty as a daughter, give money when needed, buy things when necessary, but my heart, I never truly belonged to that family, nor to my parents." In my senior year of college, Zhang Shuai got married. His bride was a female worker from his factory. On the 26th day of the last lunar month, the couple, dressed in cheap, bright red toasting outfits, went from table to table offering drinks. That evening, my middle school classmates invited me to join them in playing pranks in the newlyweds' room. Standing at the doorway, I watched them roughhouse without any sense of propriety. It was like watching my past self. I felt quite uncomfortable that day, and wanted Zhang Shuai to put a stop to their antics, but he said, "It's a day of great joy, don't dampen the spirits." Eventually, I took a broom and chased the group away, for which my mother-in-law chided me for being insensitive, suddenly feeling it was all pointless. I turned and left. Years passed, and the muddy village roads have been paved with concrete. More and more people are venturing into the outside world, but have their mindsets truly evolved? I'm not sure. Small snowflakes began to drift from the sky. Zhang Shuai followed me out, drunk, with a flushed face. He blocked my path. "Chow Chow, if I had also gone to high school back then, would you have noticed me?" "I would rather never marry at all than be with you," I replied coldly. "Take good care of your wife and stop being a mama's boy." Snowflakes fell on my face, their coolness faint. Perhaps, I would also become his unattainable love, because I am outstanding and hard to get. I qualify to be that unattainable love. As I was almost home, my phone rang. It was Zhang Jia calling. "I have something to tell you." "Oh, I've signed with a big company in Hangzhou. We'll be able to meet soon." "Congratulations, Chow Chow. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again," he said gently in the night. "I'm sending you a photo." The signal in the village was poor. After a while, a photo appeared on QQ. It was a branch of blooming willow flowers placed in a glass vase, accompanied by Zhang Jia's message, "They are resilient and beautiful, just like you, Song Chow Chow."